Hello, everybody. It's Mike. Patrick, hello. As you can tell, the car is a little disassembled. Some things are going down. Everybody pan down. Everybody's seen the splitter version 11.10. It's about to be 11.1 because the wizard here is getting a little wild with the aerodynamics. Mike, would you like to explain?
Sure.
Thank you.
So, after the wreck at Laguna Seca, yeah, it wasn't fun.
It was drastic.
We had 4 weeks to get the car ready for SEMA and PRI, and we all came together and we were able to get it all back into the shape where it looked like a car again. We had all the panels fixed and back on it. We had the aero on it. Or at least the new dive plane. We kind of patched up the splitter was all.
To be fair, it ran and drove.
Yeah, no, it ran and drove.
Just didn't race.
But we've got much bigger ideas. And to bring it all the way back to baseline, the car that we're sitting on right now was really designed 10 years ago. And we continually worked and iterated and made it better and better for 10 years. But we've got to the point now where we feel like we could do a lot more. So
the game has evolved.
Yeah, no, it's definitely, there's stuff on this platform that was originally designed to be an autocross car that doesn't allow us to do time attack and hill climb the way that we'd really like to do it. But the ideas have gotten bigger and the goals have gotten bigger, and what we really want to do is we got together, and we don't just want to compete in the US on hill climb. We want to be able to compete with any car anywhere in hill climb competition.
Global.
And we also want to do the same with time attack. So we feel like we have ideas and things that we can do to the Camaro that makes it on that level, but it's going to take a drastic upgrade. And
a bunch of really smart, awesome people that help push this thing as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It started with mainly me and my ideas, and has morphed into now we've got over half a dozen engineers that help us with this thing that are all exceptionally smart people, and they look at my ideas 10 years ago for an autocross car and go, that doesn't look like a hill climb car, dude. You have some giant flaws. So what we want to do is share with you guys the process of taking this car on its journey from where it is right now to where it's going to be end of 2025, beginning of 2026. Well, what does that mean to you guys?
Awesome video, duh.
A really cool whole series of videos because it's going to be a big process. And what we're not trying to do, we're not trying to give you guys like some fluffed up showing sparks and weld porn video. We want to actually show you how does the whole process work? How do you go from a car that performs well to one that performs better? How do you figure out what you're going to try and improve and what you shouldn't try and improve? What compromises do you make so that the car is easy to work on versus performs as well as possible? Is aero more important than chassis dynamics? How important is horsepower? What are we going to do with base physics? How do we deal with just base CG, polar moment of inertia, and base chassis geometry?
Wizard top.
Where do you make the compromises between chassis geometry and aerodynamics? A lot of really deep dive stuff that people that have done this ask the questions. We feel like at the point we're at now, we have a team that can answer many of those. But as I've found, the smarter the people you deal with, the less they give you answers and the more they just ask you more questions. And you kind of go, hey, we want to do this and this and this. What's the best option? And they go, well,
puzzle pieces.
Yeah, but what about this? And how about that? And it depends on this. And what's your maximum speed going to be? And all these other things. So we're going to take you on that trip of how do we think all this stuff through? What are the different questions that we're going to ask? How do we put it together? And then ultimately, when the car's all done, you guys will be right there with us and seeing how does it perform.
How fast does it
And
go?
then when something doesn't work right, because always something doesn't work right, how do we deal with that?
We'll share it with you.
Yeah. So this is meant to be a series of videos to allow you guys insider access to how we go through the process of making cars better. How did we get to where we are now from originally autocrossing, and what does all that look like? And hopefully that helps everybody out there with making their projects faster, because you'll go, okay, well, here's the question that I'm going to ask. This is what I want to make better on my car. What all goes into doing that? What is collateral damage of making this change, but what is better? How do we strike a balance between all of those things of aero performance, chassis performance, engine performance, and functionality of the car and serviceability? And what are the most important things?
Now, let me break it down to you in non-wizard terms. What he just said was, the car's awesome. We're gonna make it a little more awesome, from grassroots to motorsports level and beyond. And we're gonna kick some ass and make some cool videos that everybody's gonna dig and show you all the cool stuff. We got a lot of really talented people involved in this whole project, so you guys will enjoy.
So this car came from the desire to go to Ultimate Street Car and be able to beat Danny Pop in his Corvette.
Got him.
And everybody said that we couldn't do it. Man, it was like,
Oh yeah.
can't be done. You can't take a Camaro and beat a well-prepared Corvette in Ultimate Street Car competition. Well, we kind of bent that whole Camaro beating a Corvette thing, where we used a lot of the architecture from a Corvette, and the engine got moved way back. We have a torque tube in it, and you can see the transaxle on the bent over there. That's a SODEV 924 with the C6 ZR1 diff. So we took a lot of Corvette DNA, stuck it into a chassis that would allow us to do that, put the Camaro body on it, and we went Ultimate Street Car racing, and we did really well. We had great success at that, and the car did what it needed to do, and it kind of got, not quite gently, but ushered out of that competition, and we had to find something else to do. And Patty's big idea was that we needed to go do hill climb racing, so we did that. We went to the Pikes Peak Hill Climb 4 times. We had some reasonable success there. The car showed lots of promise of being able to be fast. If we're being brutally honest, the issue with the hill climb for us was we had terrible luck with weather. We had 2 years where the weather was awful and we couldn't make a pass. And then we had 2 years that we wrecked the car. So of those 4 years, we really never got a good full run.
We also qualified under 4 minutes and over 150 miles an hour, which is less than 50 people, less than 30 people in 100 years have done so. So we did kick a little bit of ass.
It was definitely cool. It was a great experience. We've taken the last year just trying to sharpen the axe and make the car a better time attack car. And in that time, we've done, big brake upgrades and power upgrades and aero upgrades and all these things. And now we've got to the point where the seating position in the car doesn't really fit me for doing time attack stuff. My head is hitting the roof, and there's some issues in there. And where all this started was I have a new sawbelt seat that's a much better containment seat. It's a lot more rigid. When I had an incident at Road America where I got into the wall and the containment seat didn't hold my head, and I got into the roll cage. It was padded, but got into the roll cage padding and I got knocked out.
He went maybees.
Yeah. I woke up next to the track going, where am I? And that was a little freaky, So I got a new seat, wanted to put it in the car. It doesn't fit this chassis. Yeah, it doesn't fit at all. So we're like, oh, well, we could cut this, cut that. And we kind of got to the point of, okay, this thing's been cut on an awful lot. So we started looking at it with a clean sheet of paper. Like, okay, if we had this to do over again, what are some of the little bit of Achilles heels that we've learned? Well, one of them is when you use a Corvette transaxle in your construction, the engine is locked in line with the transmission and they're dead straight. Engine's here, trans is here, solid bar in between. That whole unit is mounted into the chassis. Well, you're drawing a compromise there. You can't get the bell housing any lower than the ground plane or you'll knock it off on the ground. And it's a large factory style bell housing. So, okay, well that's the limiting factor. You level it all out, get your driveline angle correct, you drop it down, set it on the zero plane, and that's where it is in the chassis. Well, the problem with that is our rear half shaft angles are going up quite a bit.
I don't like it.
Yeah, he doesn't like having to rebuild the CV joints constantly because they're sitting at like a 15-degree static work angle, which is, it's not crazy, but the amount of torque that we have, it definitely causes issues. So we started thinking, okay, well, if we ran a smaller bell housing, the engine couldn't go down 6 inches. And if we didn't have a torque tube, we could run the transmission up and get better half shaft angles. And if we had better half shaft angles, well, man, maybe we could put bigger tunnels in the car. And you can kind of see how the snowball effect kind of goes. It started with the race seat, turned into, well, we got to build a chassis anyway. If we're going to change the chassis, let's do the drivetrain and get it in better positions.
And make it not suck.
And then you go, well, if we're going to get the drivetrain in better positions, maybe we should go ahead and open up the front of the car so that we can have better airflow over the aerodynamic components and maybe drive the front end a little bit harder, decrease drag, and just improve the efficiency overall. Well, the radiator's kind of in the way for that. So can we get away with maybe moving the radiator to the back? I know I'll never hear the end of it from Ferris because I gave him a bunch of trash about running his radiator in the back and I thought it was a terrible idea, but now I'm kind of like, well, maybe that's not a terrible idea.
Here we go.
So,
well, and don't forget, like you said, we got to get you to fit in the car.
Yeah, fitting in the car is really important. That's kind of paramount. We need to be safe. The car is really fast. Like this car has gone 200 miles an hour at Road America, and there's probably maybe less than 5 cars in the United States that can say they've done that. Indy cars can't say they've done that. So it's really, really wild stuff. And we need to make it as safe as we can. And making a fresh cage that's got time attack in mind and not, hey, this is an autocross car that's had some bars added to go run the hill climb. It's a time attack car is going to be a good thing. And the things that we're kind of going to be working through are how are we going to kind of balance the new aero? We have a loose goal of taking the downforce that we made last year and doubling it. That's a really lofty goal. It's not going to be easy to achieve. We have help from the guys at Verus and also Robin Shute, our other engineer, Scott Best, a lot of really talented people kind of leaning in on how do we make this better? And right now, the phase we're at is clean sheet of paper. What do we want to see? How do we want to work this? And what we'll do is kind of break these bits down into the, what are we going to do this year to this car that's going to be experiments for the next version? Because we're going to do some of the things. This version
is Rev
1.
And
the other one's Rev 2.
Rev 2.
So this one is going to be treated kind of like a sketch pad for this year. We're going to take some of our overarching goal is for 2026. We're looking to make the car perform exceptionally well compared to the way it does now by 2026. The plan of how we're going to do that is going to start with modify this car, experiment with a few things to make sure that they work so that when we put them into Rev 2, it's already been proven. We already know.
You just, does that mean you're building another car?
Yes. Technically, this car again, or maybe another car,
This car
or
better.
and it might. This car might stay this car, and the other car might be the other car. I don't know.
This car will always exist,
Yeah.
and likely with the steel body that everybody knows and loves.
Well, I have a thought that I'd kind of like to take this chassis once it gets retired from Time Attack.
Ooh, the '67.
This one may go back to the snow camo version of the Ultimate Street Car,
Yes, please.
which I think if we brought it back to that just for,
Oh yeah.
that would be cool. I always loved the car, that version.
Then we'll just
This
have to
may go back there.
drive it back to Nevada, run through the canyons.
Yeah. And then the iteration, Rev 2, is going to be how do we build the fastest Time Attack car in North America and hopefully the world. And we're going to include you guys in the process the whole way. We'll show you all the different steps of the fab, all the different steps of the design. We'll show you what we're cooking up for Aero. We're going to share all of it. And we really think that it would be cool for people to kind of get the opportunity to know how this stuff works. Because there's so many people that just care about the glitz and glam and, you know, the results. And this isn't for them. This is more for the people that nerd out about engineering and technical details and the process of it. Yeah, that's me. I do that.
I do that too.
And he heckles me, but he does. Yeah. He nerds out on it as well.
And I'll
else
be
he
here.
wouldn't be here.
I'll be here to make sure that the videos don't just go way nerd, and they'll be kind of fun. So
yeah, it'll be fun. So that's probably going to be it for now. We'll include some videos. I want to kind of show you guys everywhere where this car started. This thing started 10 years ago as a design. It was my 67 Camaro that I ran at Good Guys, stuff like that. Then I converted it to a two-frame car, ran Ultimate Street Car from 2013, I believe, all the way up till 2019. We were able to win the Ultimate Street Car 2 years in a row, 2018 and 2019. And then it's been running ever since, doing hill climb and Time Attack. This revision that we're doing to it right now that we're also going to share to you, that we're kind of treating as the sketch pad for the next iteration, is going to be the last of the progression of this car. So this version of the car is getting cut off 25, which is kind of crazy to think,
kind of sad.
but it's really exciting that
it'll live on. It'll still exist.
Well, it's going to become more historic, and the next version is going to be a quantum leap, because I'd like to believe that in a lot of ways what we did 10 years ago, we were a bit ahead of our time. And what we're trying to do now is put ourselves in the position that we're ahead of what's going on again. We're going to try to put ourselves at the pointy end of what's possible.
There's some fast cars in Time Attack.
Oh yeah, it's crazy.
There's some badass.
There's some cars over in Europe, and there's some cars in Australia that are insanely fast.
There's some cars here that are fast.
Oh yeah, there's cars here that are fast. And you know, even our boy next door, he's
fast.
quick. He's definitely quick. So we're trying to make it where we have a car that's capable of competing with anything, anywhere. It's globally fast, and be looking, there's a lot of desire to ship this thing different places
Across the
once
pond.
we get it done, across different ponds,
Yeah.
and see how it compares. And we had a lot of fun this year with Tommy Milner
Yes.
driving the car, and Jason Hart,
Yes.
and look for more of that in the future as well. We're going to work with pro drivers to help us develop our program and make it better, because there's a lot to that. You know, we're, as grassroots guys, we're only so good in the seat. We only know so much. Having the pros is fantastic. So we want to do more of that in the future, and lots and lots of cool tech stuff coming up. Probably the first thing we'll show is the cooling system relocation. What are some of the pitfalls of that? What are things we got to think about? how are we going to design around those things and make sure that we don't foul up the aero of the car while also maintaining enough cooling capacity to be able to do the hill climb.
Because it's got a little bit of horsepower, doesn't it?
It's got a couple, like 1300 wheel, you know, like 1500 at the crank. It's not like drag racer levels of horsepower, but
I mean, it seems
for a road course, it's reasonable. And there's really no reason we can't make a few tweaks with Rev 2 if we want and turn this sucker up to maybe 1500 wheel or 1700 wheel or whatever it is we want to do.
Sounds so sweet.
We've got the motor now. I mean, we've got the 8-weight crank, we've got the dart block, the motor's ready.
She ready.
So as much power as we want to put through it, it's pretty much ready for her. So it's going to be a tricky balance of trying to keep time attack rules and hill climb rules in perspective so that the car kind of stays legal for both of those, but pushing the boundaries. So really fun stuff. I probably haven't been this excited about the program
Since he met a girl the first time, Pam.
Well, remember in 2019 when
We were pretty stoked.
we decided that we were going to go try and conquer the world,
We set it on fire.
and
Literally.
we really did well that year. I think we won every event we entered.
Seven national events.
Yeah, and that level of fire, I feel again. I'm really excited about what we're doing now, and I'm really excited to share it with everybody. There'll probably be like 7 people that actually watch these, but I think it's cool. We're here for all 7 of you.
Thank you, 7 folks. We're gonna do it.
Yeah, we'll be here.